Hello, and welcome to this very brief introduction to my upper level module, Harlem and the State of Urban America. I'm Dr. Andrew Fearnley. I'm a historian of the 20th century United States in the University of Manchester's American Studies program, and I'm the convener of this module. Welcome. This is a course about what one scholar has called the most iconic neighborhood in the United States, Harlem, New York. It's a place widely known and known about, and many of you will likely already have encountered it in other modules or in your general reading. New York, especially Harlem, was of course a major destination after the Civil War for hundreds of thousands of black migrants. By 1945, the historian Martha Biondi tells us, New York City had the largest urban black population anywhere in the world. You might also know Harlem as being the base of operations for Marcus Garvey's UNIA organisation following the Great War, or because its name and reputation has long been linked to the black literary and cultural renaissance of the 1920s, being championed and since preserved in the work of a generation of writers, poets and cultural figures, or perhaps because of its associations with the black nationalist leader Malcolm X and others within the black liberation movements of the 1960s. Of course, Harlem's fame is not only a historical artifact. In more recent years, the neighbourhood has won renewed cultural attention, attracting marketers, cultural organisations and artists, and serving as the backdrop to a number of popular US television series. This is a module that surveys all of these topics, and many more, and which draws on my own research in the field, some of which will help to guide and anchor our conversations. We will explore cities and urban life much more generally in the long 20th century, including looking at changing cultural representations of cities across a variety of media. We'll see how Harlem was transformed from being a small, largely undeveloped suburb of Manhattan through to being a bustling and dynamic centre of black diasporic life by mid-century. These changes would of course happen as part of a much wider set of transformations within New York City, as millions of people were drawn there and settled there. The city's total population would double between 1900 and the Great Depression. We'll discover that New York City, between the Civil War and the end of the Second World War, was a certain kind of urban place. It was known as an industrial city, and in fact New York was the largest industrial city anywhere in the United States in the first half of the 20th century. We'll see what happens to industrial cities after 1950, particularly as manufacturing work declines, as well as encountering the other urban formations, such as the rise of the suburbs, as well as the sprawling Sunbelt cities that would come to rival and then replace those older manufacturing hubs. As such, while our main focus will always be New York, you'll also read about other urban centres, including Baltimore after the Civil War, Philadelphia and St. Louis at the turn of the 20th century, in order to think about the rise of Jim Crow in the urban context, and Seattle, Chicago and Pittsburgh after 1970 to understand gentrification and the making of what would be called the post-industrial city. To do all of this work, we're going to consult an array of documents, including literary texts and novels, historical works, photographic collections, films, and especially in the 1960s and 70s, a rich body of political theorising, which would claim the city as being a state, a kingdom, a throne, and which served as partial inspiration for my module's title. Because this module takes one place as its point of focus, you're going to spend quite a lot of time thinking about historical geography, and especially learning how to read maps and encountering different types of maps, including those like this one, which were used to buttress certain types of racial segregation, and those which scholars have made in order to illuminate certain historical patterns. And finally, as you'll notice from the module assessment, you'll also be trained to produce your own digital maps based on research done in the context of the course, and you can glimpse some excellent examples that former students on the course have done using the link provided both below the video and also in the course module guidebook.